Seconds. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. Welcome to the Steelers Game Prep Channel and another magnificent episode of The Panel.
Yes, sir.
Right now, true indeed. I'm going to go ahead and as we do, let everybody introduce themselves. And we'll start over here.
John Vin Diesel.
All right. Of course, I am once again Big King Sadiq. Now on my Steelers Game Prep channel with the distinguished panel. And over here to my right,
Steeltown, Tony Brown. Y'all know who you got up in here.
last but not least, bringing it up on the end,
GTV, go to Visionary.
all right. And we're going to get together right now when we've gotten together, and we're going to take a couple of minutes that y'all was kind enough to jump in and share with us so we could talk to y'all about these Steelers one time. All right. Today's subject matter, just so that you all know, we're going to be getting a little bit initially into what, of course, everyone is talking about these days, and that is the Aaron Rodgers saga, right? When will he decide to, and what will it look like when he touches down in Pittsburgh, if it does in fact happen? We'll be talking timeline relevant to that, and we also have a couple of other tidbits and factors that we're going to be sprinkling in for y'all to think about, keeping your minds prepped up as we rapidly approach the start of Pittsburgh Steelers OTAs, right? All right, let's get it going. We'll start over there with you, Goat, if you don't mind. Talk to us a little bit about what your mindset is in terms of what you see the Steelers season looking like. In general, I guess you'll give us that, and then in particular,
I didn't get the opportunity to chime in on the prediction show and the schedule show, so I'm not going to go through every game. I see mid with the roster as it is now. I see mid pack 9, 8, 8, 9. Yeah, we could entertain that.
Okay.
And that's as is right now. I mean, that's with the end of the season based off of how the line ended, which we know there's factors in that. Mm-hmm. Based off of how teams are running against us on the other side of the ball, we make moves for that. But technically, all of that's on paper until I start seeing them. So right now, at this early point, yeah, we addressed the holes and the needs, but schedule the roster as is 9 and 8, 8 and 9. If we get discount double check, it might change.
Yeah, I be dropping my stuff trying to grab my belt. You can't do that, man. Damn.
We ain't clowning you already, Aaron.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Interesting take.
Yeah, it was.
I think it's valid. True indeed.
And I also want to say that, I mean, and this is based off of a conversation me and you had. I'm gonna go ahead and start into the Aaron Rodgers talk. I
got shadow face. Let me switch him around on y'all a little bit.
I may have
that's good for some of our faces.
Or judged him a little different because I used to be an Aaron Rodgers fan. Discount double check the whole nine. He was, and I seen him have some great games, and right. I used to follow Aaron all the time. But the media locally kind of rubbed me the wrong way and makes me lean towards some opinions that may not necessarily be deserving of him. Okay. So I do want to rewind out a little bit. I'm okay with Aaron Rodgers if he can come in and do what he has to do.
Okay.
And I'm going to leave it at that. And doing what you have to do is being the leader that you are. I just want to see that. And we can move forward from that.
Okay. Steel Town. What you think about that?
Well, there's really not much I can say about it that I didn't say in our last 40-minute episode, which, by the way, I would suggest if you want to get the full detail and be smarter from the time you leave your house to the time you get to work, put that in your radio and listen to some real stuff. That's the 40-minute episode recorded last week. Now, with building off of that, I see the Steelers going a completely different way as far as building character. You don't get rid of bad character people, in your opinion, and replace them with someone worse. We've been there and done that on that bad leadership. We're going to throw our players under the bus mentality. And I, for one, don't want it here in Pittsburgh. I don't think we need Aaron Rodgers. He's not a Steeler. He won't be a Steeler. And to come in here for one season and think that he's the standard, to me, is not the standard.
Okay. And I will turn over to you before giving my take. What do you think about it, Tony?
I like Aaron Rodgers. Professional quarterback. I like him because he goes through his progressions, finds his receivers. I know Tony was talking about him getting hurt and everything, but I mean, he's a professional and he's been there. He's won a Super Bowl.
Indeed.
And like I said, you want somebody experienced, and he's not like Ben was. He will help out,
mentor
a quarterback. He's not that, not type of selfish guy like that. Maybe selfish, as far as him, what he's doing right now, dragging us and all this other stuff. But he may not be dragging us. There's different things that they're talking about, reason why he's not made his mind up yet.
Yeah. Well, the Steelers have definitely acknowledged that they are respecting the fact that he's got some personal things that he needs to deal with in his inner circle. And certainly I respect that as well.
We as fans think that, hey, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but we don't know what's in somebody's personal life.
Right.
What's going on.
Right. You really don't.
Again, like I said, he goes through his progressions 1, 2, and 3. He looks off. I mean, he does what
he reads defenses.
And that's what I do like about
He's 43.
Okay.
He's 43.
And
Right.
whatever
So
whoever says about his mentorship, I think in this situation, because he's only going to be here a year, I think he would openly help anybody, I should say, behind him that's trying to learn from him.
Well, for the record, that is a nice segue into my take on it. First of all, given our current situation and what we have on the roster, based off of what I had the opportunity to do, I sort of forced myself to do it last year, was watch a few of his games toward the tail end of the season and really see if he passed the eye test. Does he still have the arm talent? Is he still have the ability, to make all the throws, and sometimes those throws be special throws, right? And yeah, I did see that. I did see that he still got the arm talent. He still can make some special throws. What I see has changed in his game with age is sort of the obvious thing. He doesn't have the same mobility in the pocket or in elusiveness, right? So it's going to require to have strong offensive line play. It's going to require for him to have the ability of a good running game to keep the pass rush on its, sort of on its heels and off of him, right? So if we can keep him upright, in other words, I think that Aaron Rodgers can still be very effective. As far as personal things, I really don't share the sentiment that a lot of people do, that he's like a bad apple or some sort of a negative, influence on the team. Just about all of his past teammates literally sing his praises about how good of a teammate he's been. As far as his mentorship, You can look no further than Jordan
That's
Love,
exactly. That's what I was
who
going to say.
states that he was very willing,
That's what I was going to say.
Company line.
That's what you say, but that's not what Jordan Love says.
Okay.
Right?
No, it's true.
I
I
feel
know
you.
what Jordan Love said.
Jordan Love says
I heard
that the man was a good.
I wouldn't have said
a
anything
good
else.
mentor. That's you, Tom.
I know.
I think Jordan Love is perfectly capable of being honest.
I-
Right.
Right?
Right.
And
So,
why shouldn't he be?
Well,
Right.
no. See, and that's something that I always say that don't confuse honesty. Just because Tomlin's not telling you something bad about a person doesn't mean he's being dishonest. You just didn't need to know.
So,
I'm
folks,
saying
I think we
Jordan-
can see
okay.
quite clearly that Tone is in the camp of he doesn't particularly like Mr. Rogers.
I
Right?
see the signs.
I for one,
I'm like Mel Gibson.
I
There's
for one
signs.
hope
Let me
that
put
Aaron
my
Rodgers,
okay.
especially given our situation, not
Should I start at the radio show?
No
work my
knock
way
on
back?
Mason Rudolph.
Or-
I like what Mason Rudolph did. We respect his position.
Mason
Tone, but
Rudolph.
I like what
Aaron Rodgers.
right. I like what Mason Rudolph
I
did.
agree with you there.
I like what he did the tail end of his last stint here, and then
Except for the playoff game. And he
Except
looked
for
like
the playoff.
dude.
Right. So
History
it was what
lesson.
it was. Mason Rudolph is a good player. He has his limitations, right? So I
Pretty
feel
good
that
backup.
Adequate regular season quarterback.
I feel that
He
Aaron
can win
Rodgers
you
would
some
just be a
games.
bit of an improvement over that, given the fact, like I said, I saw that he does still have that special arm talent, right? He does, of course, still have the ability to read defenses and probably is as wise as he'll ever be in doing so. So I think some good things can happen there. Granted, again, that we are able to keep him upright with the offensive line play, winning at a higher blocking percentage than we saw them win at last year, and certainly with a better running game.
Ask any AFC North quarterback what going through the North is like in the winter. Best offensive line, worst offensive line. These quarterbacks get beat up. Period.
I hear you. That's a
I don't
good
think
point.
he makes the season. He's getting older, and all I'm saying is, and I'm not saying that Mason Rudolph is some type of great quarterback. I'm saying I've seen enough in Mason Rudolph in his last 3 games or 4 games, if you want to consider the playoff game, that his lone mistake was a pick in the end zone. I would really say that under the right circumstances, he could lead us through the playoffs and back to a Super Bowl. Why? Managing the game. You run behind an offensive line, a power running game with a stunk defense. Wow, that sounds so much to me like Steeler football. Imagine getting back to that. Remember, we haven't won not one playoff game since we started passing over 5,000 yards a season. The last playoff game we won, we didn't even throw a touchdown pass in it. It was all Le'Veon Bell. Period.
All right.
And
Cool.
Mason was part of that. So
right. So
It's not the gunslinger that we need to win a Super Bowl.
we all do have some belief in Mason Rudolph. I will mention.
I don't have any belief.
I will.
Rudolph.
Well,
I'm
not going.
I have
As far as
limited.
I'm not going to
as far
brush
as the
that.
starting quarterback.
I'm not going to brush that pick in the
He's
playoff
ranked
game
29th
off because a pick in a playoff game is the difference of winning and losing and advancing in the
It's huge.
playoffs. Right?
And
Are you saying a pick in a playoff game is huge in the win or loss?
Mhm.
Did I hear that for real?
Yes,
Yes.
you did.
Oh,
It's true,
okay.
right?
Well, what would 5 do for you?
A lot more.
so
A lot more.
so we got limited belief in Mason Rudolph. I do think there is one other factor that you kind of glazed over in terms of his game and the importance of what you need out of a quarterback in the playoffs, which is the clutch gene. And he does not show that, in my opinion. Maybe he'll progress and show it if need be, but hopefully not need be, right? I think that Mason Rudolph is a good fact. It's really good that we do have him as a backup quarterback, and he may very well serve in that role in some very pivotal ways this season, given your point of Aaron
Even if
Rodgers.
it's just
he's
even if
smart
it's
enough.
just a segue from Aaron Rodgers into Will, Will, yeah, because I think Will has a lot of intangibles that
Will
Howard has a lot of intangibles that can be coached up, and given the right opportunity, he can come in and go on a 15-0 run because cats don't know him. If you got a strong defense, a strong running attack, this is built for a young winner to be able to succeed. I would put more eggs in the basket of Will Howard having a better season than Mason Rudolph.
Well, see, and that's why if you watch last week's episode of the 40-minute segment, we went over the 3 different scenarios that could happen, one being the rookie Will Howard. But just real quick, back on Mason Rudolph. To me, this is when we lost control of being what we needed as a quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Ben went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl based off of knowing who was going to take over the game, not him taking over the game. Even in the Super Bowl that he won, he allowed Santonio Holmes to take over the game.
However,
now Mason Rudolph
get some great quarterback play en route to do so.
That whole drive,
right?
That whole drive,
not
because,
just that drive,
that whole drive, because
wait a minute.
Because prior to that, the offense was regular stagnant until that last drive.
In fact, for my
that
vote,
was why
folks, just so you
we
know,
had only scored 17
I would have
points
gave
to that
Ben
point.
the MVP of that game.
Heath Miller was having a heck of a game.
No, based on what was going on this.
We got all those dudes the ball.
Based on what was going on in the sideline, and if you ever watch any of the highlight tapes or the tapes of the sidelines going on, it was Santonio Holmes that was beating the drum for the drive. And the fact that he appeared in all the catches except for one during the drive, yes, I'm not taking anything away from Ben. As a matter of fact, to be quite honest, Ben threw 2 perfect passes in a sequence, one in the right corner and then the one that was in the left corner. The one in the right corner was even better than the one, and Santonio just didn't get it down. I am not taking away from Ben, but there's a reason why everybody votes somebody else on the team. The team votes this.
Okay. We're not going to go back on the Ben Roethlisberger
You're under arrest.
opinion poll. We've been there. We all, just for the record, everyone.
I'm not going to let y'all forget you've been there.
We all disagree severely on.
That was in the seat,
right? Yeah, let's bring this back up, folks. This is our easy button that we let represent. Anytime we get
disagree.
Yeah, we got to just disagree, agree to disagree, and we'll have to use this button right here to keep things moving along. All right, so Aaron Rodgers getting here. I think first of all, we talked timetable a little bit earlier, right? And I know you had some concerns as to if he does come here, when isn't too late of an arrival for him to still be impactful in the season.
And
what was it? Go ahead and share with them your concern.
That's that you put it. The king just laid it out for you. So here it's very simple. When is it too late for Aaron Rodgers to not come in and be rusty, a la Kirk Cousins was, when they say one of our wins was against Kirk Cousins? It wasn't ready because he didn't get any time in preseason. He didn't get any time with his team. It was a new team, yada, yada, yada. So when is it too late for that effect to be on Aaron Rodgers? And when is it too late for it not to be Tomlin's fault? Twofold question, y'all.
Okay. So I'll sort of address that first. First of all, I think there's a huge difference between Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, for one.
Yeah, okay.
We're talking about a surefire Hall of Famer and another quarterback who's a talented passer.
But will not touch the Hall of Fame.
But has been a journeyman and who has never shown the kind of Clutch Gene Nort, actually, to be
All right,
perfectly,
Super Bowl champion and good leader.
To be
All right.
perfectly honest,
Second,
the arm talent. I mean,
Okay,
Aaron Rodgers
arm
has been
talent.
special for a long
second
time.
best journeyman is Jeff George.
So I wouldn't necessarily say it's an apples to apples comparison right there.
Okay.
Next, I would say that you're sort of right in one aspect, that in the minds of a lot of fans, certainly the Yinzer Nation, there's not going to be a lot of patience there. So if things don't look sharp right away with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, they're going to be pointing to just what you said, and that blame will ultimately go to Mike Tomlin.
I mean, that's always.
Which,
that's not even,
again,
that's
so
that's a given.
Right.
So when it's too late,
okay. So when are you saying
that ship's gone?
Tell them.
First of all, that ship's gone. I just want you to think about it. You're asking this stranger to come in and be a leader of your football team that has generations of stuff, of standard and tradition. So this guy's going to come in as your leader. This guy has no obligation to the Steelers. And everybody on this panel has said he doesn't owe the Steelers nothing. That's one strike against him. He's not a Steeler. He doesn't owe his allegiance to the Steeler. He's not a part of the Steeler Nation. As far as I'm concerned, get out. With that being said, look, if you're not a part of the nation, you can't just be in. Okay.
I don't get it.
So,
back to what? Wait a minute. Hold on. No.
So if there's ever any question, folks, what member of the panel is anti-Aaron Rodgers? I think that question is quite.
I'm not anti-Aaron Rodgers. I'm just saying that he's. I'm just saying. Think about it. Think about it. This is supposed to be. This is supposed to be the leader of your football team. This is not a Troy Polamalu. He's not a Cam Haywood. He's not. He's not who you think he is.
I know,
man.
Because he won't be there. See, a leader would be in the OTAs, but I guarantee you that Rodgers is not going to sign during the OTAs because
you already said it to him.
Now his crystal ball's out.
It's already too late. Think about it. So he doesn't go to OTAs. He comes in, starts a training camp.
Not here
so
yet.
he starts mini
he's got
camp.
his crystal ball out.
He's starting mini camp. And he's first day of minicamp, he's learning his offensive lineman's name. He don't know nothing about his running backs, nothing about his offensive linemen, let alone his receivers. So he works that out in minicamp, and then he goes into training camp. You have to get more than one quarterback together. There's not that many snaps. You got 4 arms. This guy is already shown, and in record tells you he doesn't like practice. Okay, this is who's leading my mini camp. The guy that didn't even want to be here.
So I got a question.
Wrong from the beginning.
Hold on.
From the beginning.
Question.
Okay.
So what part of Aaron Rodgers, as we know him, and everything you just stated, he doesn't like practice. He doesn't. What makes you think when he does sign, he's just going to start knowing his offensive line's name? He's a professional, and he's been in this league.
And since you bring up all of this stuff, and since you bring up the record,
that's where I'm going.
If you look at his record,
yes,
right?
Let's go to New York and look
at his record. Hold on.
If
you look at his record beyond New York, right?
I want his
previously when he did have the same attitude toward the offseason, how did he end up performing? What was his chemistry with his teammates in Green Bay?
What were they in New York?
I don't hear all these complaints for people who were actually not only just his teammates, his coaches.
Some situations don't work.
How many coaches have you heard stepping up complaining about Aaron Rodgers? I'm talking about offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches.
Not a one. And I bring up the example of Russ in Denver.
He gets a bad rap because of the media, and I'm not falling
Russ came here and showed what was
Russ
put out there wasn't who he was.
All right.
I don't believe my lying eyes. Say that to yourself.
You got it. How many games did Mason Rudolph play last year? Play? How many games?
Mason Rudolph played in 8 games, and he started 5 of them.
Started 5 games.
He passed for a little over 64% complete on a little over 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
How many games did he win?
That I don't have offhand, but not that many in Tennessee. Not that many.
How many games did he
win?
win?
Who started over him? Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah.
What was the Jets' record?
Okay.
Anyway,
what?
What did I say?
But hold on.
Just asking.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Because when they started winning was toward the tail end of the season when Rodgers started playing better, and he came off of Achilles.
Came off of Achilles.
This goes back to your point. He's an older guy.
But he came off of Achilles like this.
Which we acknowledge, came back off the Achilles as an older guy.
And performed.
And once he got his legs under him and started to get in good football shape again off of an Achilles injury, he started playing better.
You said it 3
times. And
I
seen it with my eyes.
Older guy. And that guy is now
with my
older.
Eyes from that older guy.
He's not going to be Father Time.
Nobody's asking him to, Tom.
Yeah, you are. You're asking.
No, we're not. Okay. We don't agree on what is being required of Aaron Rodgers and his ability to fulfill that agreement.
What's required of him is to sign and be in camp and make sure that.
So you say
so we go back, so we go into the preseason.
The Steelers aren't saying
we go into the preseason, and again, if you watched last week's show, you'll know why there's limited snaps in preseason. We're all aware of that. So how much time does he get in the preseason? 3 series maybe? And that's going to prepare him for the regular season.
Why do you
think
he won't be
already
to get
listen to me, guys. That is what I'm saying. It's already too late for him to get a fast start at the beginning of the season when we need a fast start.
I disagree. I think if he makes it in, I think first of all, if he makes it in for OTAs, that is plenty for any veteran quarterback in the National Football League to be able to establish cohesion and rhythm with their team. Any veteran quarterback in the National Football League, period. From OTAs, and you say he ain't gonna be at OTAs, but OTAs have not started yet, so we don't know that he's not going to be there. Exactly. He may be, and I'm saying even if he isn't, as long as he's there by mandatory minicamp,
okay, right? Is he going to be? Is he or is he not? I'm
still fine with it.
Is he or is he not going to be there?
I'll
tell you why. I don't think.
I don't
have a crystal ball.
I can't predict.
And I guess I don't have a crystal ball, so I guess I'll be wishy-washy like everybody else and leave myself open just in case he comes in. But if I wanted to be wishy-washy, I would say the reason why he's not coming in is because if he came in as a leader, he would be required as a leader to go to OTAs. But if he doesn't sign, he doesn't have to go to OTAs. OTAs are voluntary. We all know on the record that he doesn't want to go. So if I was in Vegas, I'd be putting my money on if he signs, he's not going to sign before OTAs. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, you could be wrong.
You could be
right, or you could be wrong. We'll see.
See y'all in Vegas.
The bottom line is we'll see.
I know where my money is.
Again, my point is even if he's not at OTAs, my hard line is mandatory minicamp.
Okay.
Just for the reasons that you spoke about earlier in terms of building cohesion and whatnot. I think you do need some time to do that. I'm not saying, folks, that he's not going to need any offseason with his team. Exactly. I'm saying pump your brakes. Let the man do what he says he's doing. Handle his personal business. Respect that. Right, like the Steelers are willing to do, apparently, and hopefully he'll be there for OTAs. That'll be great. If he's not, in my opinion, at least be there by minicamp. And him being on the roster,
but he only got to be better than Mason Rudolph.
Exactly, it makes the room thing. Better.
Right.
It's the same thing, and we talked about this, and we have another disagreement, and that's on the Pickens. Sometimes subtraction is an addition.
That's
It's
the
not
worst-
subtraction
no,
because
that's the
sometimes-
worst move we made. by getting rid
Sometimes
of
subtraction is
Well, we
an
don't know
addition.
yet.
we'll see.
Sometimes
I've seen it in
subtraction
camp.
is an addition,
When
and I
he'll-
can't see
look,
getting rid
I mean,
of
we've
one
seen
and picking
Claypool
up
in camp.
another.
We've seen
No,
we
Martavis
disagree.
Bryant in camp. We'll
They did
see.
jump in there. My bad.
Let me go to Pickens. The situation with Pickens. Who on the Steelers can cover Pickens? Huh? Who on the Steelers can cover Pickens?
Who on any
Anybody?
team can cover Pickens?
Who can
Who
cover
on any
Pickens?
team can cover
I'm
Pickens?
just
That's
asking.
not the issue.
Yeah.
I'm
With
just
him
asking.
being covered. The issue
I'm just
is
asking.
his attitude and his ability to be a team player.
All right, so we'll cover this next.
And he has
Obviously,
showed
this
that
is
he can.
another hot topic. We're going to have to
But that's
revisit
my whole
the
point.
Pickens trade.
Yeah, but that's my whole point.
Go ahead.
That's my whole point. Why would you if that is your thinking? Why would you get rid of one and take on another? Now we can have a disagreement on whether we think that he was a bad influence, either one,
Wait a minute.
or
Here
the
you
same
go
thing.
with-
No, but it's the same thing,
Not
different
apples
day.
and apples again. You're comparing two completely different situations. George Pickens and what he did last season on the field and off the field, neither of which compare directly to anything about Aaron Rodgers.
Okay,
So why are you comparing?
I
I'm
don't even- I
comparing
can't
having
even-
a bad
you can't
ball
compare that
joint
all
to
that.
having a bad axle, and still you can't drive. Period.
Well,
No.
first of all, we know what Pickens gave us.
No.
Yes.
You're perceiving these
You're
things to be a
completely
problem. These
saying
are all
context doesn't matter, and I'm not willing to do that.
George
Okay.
Pickens was we seen.
You're saying context
We
doesn't
may
matter.
It does
disagree
matter.
on the severity of what he did, but he did what he did. Aaron Rodgers hasn't done nothing. The only thing about Aaron Rodgers that's pissing everybody off is the local media blowing smoke up our butts, telling us that, oh, he'll be here then. Oh, he's walking on the beach. Oh, they're keeping that going. Let's see the product. Once Aaron Rodgers gets here, and as Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers as we know him, I think everybody's attitude and everybody's opinion will change.
Let me talk about Pickens one more time. Let me just talk about Pickens one more time.
Okay. Well, before
You gotta-
we do
you
that,
gotta- you gotta
hold on,
double
before-
up on
let's
Pickens.
open up this whole Pickens
Okay.
thing again. But before we do that, let's close out the Aaron Rodgers thing. I will say this: I think there's another aspect of what we're going to see in terms of our product on the field with or without Aaron Rodgers. Is I think that a lot of people are ignoring the bigger question: did the team get better? And I believe they did. I believe that they will be better on terms of offensive line play. I believe they most certainly have a better running back room now, right?
Mhm.
I believe they're
paper.
going on paper. I think they're going to have a better running game altogether that won't take past mid-season to develop and start seeing productivity out of. So I think the tools that'll be around Aaron Rodgers or whoever happens to be the quarterback at the time are going to be better. Now, the other area would be in what we're about to open up with wide receiver. I can tell you right now, my take is going to be that I do want to see another veteran wide receiver or some form of a replacement for the absence that Pickens has left by us moving him on to Dallas. All right, we're going to go ahead now, folks, and move right into this Pickens discussion. I kind of have put my thoughts out there.
I see it's Pickens at it.
So let's see what Tony V has to say.
So last year, all we needed was Ayuk for Pickens. That was our big thing. Okay, we wanted Pickens, but we wanted somebody else. We wanted Ayuk because you're already doubling up on Pickens almost every play. Now you get Ayuk in there. Now who's going to cover who?
Right.
All right. Of course, Pickens got frustrated and all this other stuff because he's not getting the ball. Pickens, you know how Pickens earns his money? Because he's like the league, what he's getting in the league. Mm-hmm. He earns his money by what? How many catches he makes? How many touchdowns he makes? How many yards he makes? This is how this man earns his money. Of course he's going to get mad when he's not getting passes and he's not going to. Antonio Brown, same thing. You know what I mean? He's a passionate player.
You can't even
But
say
when you're being
two names in the same breath.
He's a. What do you mean?
And I ain't never seen Antonio Brown give up.
I didn't say he's giving up.
Okay.
I'm just talking about different. Well, I did see him give up.
In a game?
Not with the Steelers, but I did see him give up.
Well, for us.
Yeah.
That's all.
But what I'm
In a
trying to
game?
say is, in a game, yeah, I did see him give
He
up.
was
Purposely. He started doing stuff in
That was
Tampa
a
Bay.
strategy.
Yeah, he started.
That was
He
it.
even said he was taking off different thing when he was in Tampa Bay for a reason. Okay, but that was
Raiders
yeah. Well, he didn't want to be on the Raiders.
That was exactly. That was the strategy.
But what I'm trying to say is, now we did grab Metcalf. Okay, now we do have another. Now we got receiver. Now we got 1 and 2 receivers right now.
Right.
Okay, now
Arguably,
we got the running back. Yeah. Now he's going. What are we talking about? What are they talking about now? Now we got to replace. We got to find another receiver.
Right.
That's all they're talking about. Now we got to find a. We had one and we let him go.
That's
For a
'cause
third round back.
They looked at him as a potential problem. They got what they could get for him. And I believe in this.
But you don't look at potential
I
problems.
get it. No. We know what the problems was. We're looking
But
at.
why?
I mean,
But why?
Mentors
I'm
on
giving
the
it to
team around
you.
him.
I'm giving it to you.
And
I'm
he
giving
was
it to
upset
you.
about his assist. So
Right.
what about the
And
next
you
time
don't
he's
have
upset?
a mentor.
What about
Then-
the playoffs and he ain't getting the ball and he needs to block and he's not getting his
Did you see when he
his
blocked? What
guys
he did? What he did block?
when he did block.
When he did block?
Interesting.
What he did?
I can't wait for somebody to block.
Right.
I want somebody
Yeah,
who's
the
going to
same
block,
problem.
whether he's supposed to block or not.
Right. Well, the thing about it is that when he was blocking, he was knocking him on the ass.
And I get that. My point is this: he's gone now, and
Right.
I really.
But
believe,
we're talking about him. I'm just saying.
No. I'm saying I really
Your
believe
point
we
was
do
valid.
need an. I wouldn't have been mad if we kept him because of the 1-2 aspect, and then just maybe traded him by the deadline and/or let him go next year. But I really believe they thought they're going to get what they can get for him, which wasn't bad, which helps out next year's draft and this next round of cuts. You're going to get another quality receiver.
I understand
now-
that.
It won't be Pickens.
Right, exactly. That's all I'm saying.
Still-
and we know Pickens. One more thing.
Go ahead.
We know Pickens can play because none of our corners can. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
he said, nobody
he
can really
nobody
just shut
can-
him up.
shut
Certainly
him
not
down.
single coverage.
So in single coverage. All right, but go ahead.
So Steeltown's got an interesting point that a different caveat that he sort of is introducing in terms of reasoning as to how we got to the point we got to with Pickens.
Well, I'm going to say that it actually happened prior to Kenny Pickett. And the reason that Kenny Pickett isn't on the team is not because of his lack of ability. I've always been somewhat of a Kenny Pickett fan. But what showed was his lack of leadership and his inability to sit behind and learn behind another veteran player who's been there and done that type of dude. When you pay DK Metcalf, that's me anyway. When you pay him the kind of loot that you pay him to come in and be the stud in your receiver room, you can't have problems with the help not wanting to fall in line a la Kenny Pickett. No, I'm not going to sit behind Russell Wilson. Thus, I'm going to get traded. The same thing just happened to Pickens.
What did he say?
Pickens, he didn't say nothing.
He did say when Metcalf come in.
Just because Tomlin's not telling you what's going on,
What
don't
did he
mean
tweet?
that they're not. He didn't tweet anything because
About
he's
Metcalf?
Tomlin.
Who?
You're not going to hear the
No.
things that
No,
are
I see
changing
what he-
Tomlin.
Right.
No,
I know what he tweeted about. He was happy as heck. He got
See-
mad. He said, "Now I got." Okay, go ahead.
No.
No, let him say. He's
Finish it up. But he's Tony Vinny is right about
Wow.
something. I heard about
Okay.
this myself.
Now, I've
But
seen it
but
tweets.
if one or two gets out, you have no idea of what's going on because this man is not the type that'll throw his teammates or players under the bus on a radio show. He's not that type of leader.
Okay, we get that.
And what I'm saying
We
is
get that.
that
We
what
acknowledge
they're
that.
seeing is just because you're not seeing it and I'm not seeing it. This is a leadership and a room problem that you have a bunch of you have your Roman Wilsons, you have a bunch of young receivers in this room that cannot have this precedent of a prima donna in the room. Is the room more talented?
Okay.
No.
We get
Is
your
the
point.
room better off? Yes. And it's the same thing with
In
the
some
quarterback
aspects, we get it.
position. It's the same thing. Is Aaron Rodgers a better quarterback? Yes. Is he a better leader for the Pittsburgh Steelers? I have to be convinced.
Okay.
My point.
Okay, so cool.
I'm done.
We for now.
Where's my blood pressure medicine?
I know.
Darn it.
I'm gonna have like a syringe or something nearby. All right. So we talked about Aaron Rodgers, just sort of up to now. We flash back on George Pickens up to now. Let's talk a little bit about this because the reality is he isn't here. So we do need that replacement still, right? What is anybody's thoughts about replacements? I know it was tossed around. We had some things tossed out about a few players. Quickly, Alan Lazard's name came up just because it makes sense, I think, more than anything, him being so tight with Aaron Rodgers. Okay, so there's that connection. But recently, we have been hearing about just one other thing about Aaron Rodgers and whether or not he'll actually be here. There was a lot of people speculating about whether or not he was waiting for the Minnesota quarterback position. And it looks like
he wouldn't play us against another team. Come on.
Well, it turns out that over the weekend, the Minnesota Vikings actually traded for quarterback Sam Howell. So they pretty much have slammed the door on any interest.
Good thing nobody else wants them
with anybody else outside of who they already have, right?
But who wants Mason?
I can't say no more, guys.
Who wants Mason?
The one that already signed him.
Steelers?
Yeah,
and they definitely all in that same team.
Sam Howell wasn't signed.
That same team wants Aaron Rodgers. But anyway,
exactly.
All right,
that's that. So let's move on to the fact that we have got to do something about the void that has been left with George Pickens' departure. We've heard about Alan Lazard because it makes sense. Recently, there's been a lot of
Tyreek Hill.
I heard a little bit about Tyreek Hill, but what I've heard most about recently is the young man from the Saints, Chris Olave.
They did say
who's an excellent wide receiver, and who, if you're asking me what I'd like to see, I think we'd all love to see him become a Pittsburgh Steeler. But the reality of that is that it's pretty much just at the stage of being a feel-out call that they had to place in due diligence to the Saints to see where they were at. Now, where they're actually at, we don't know, but taking a look at it, if they are at all trying to be competitive this year and want to put their new quarterback in a good position to succeed, it really wouldn't make sense for them to let go of Chris Olave.
I got a question that probably needs to be answered first.
Okay.
Right now, who's your number two?
Right now,
I'm going to go out on this limb.
Go ahead.
And I'm afraid of going out on a limb, but I'm going to go out on this limb and say that Roman Wilson is who they thought he was when they drafted him last year.
Hell of a guy last year. What did he put up last year?
He didn't put up nothing last year.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to be on the camp.
What have you done for me lately?
See, I'm the type that I'm going to exercise patience and not fly off the handle as far as the number two receiver, because I know that there's a lot of number two receivers that aren't going to make it through training camp and are going to be salary cut. We have the money to pick up any of those. And because unlike quarterback, a receiver can come in and start running simple routes on the route tree. It doesn't take them as long to get up on speed. So the second receiver, I will understand, that's also going to give more snaps to the let a veteran receiver get snaps in somebody else's camp. Right now, I want Roman Wilson getting snaps. I want Scotty Miller getting snaps. I want the young receivers that I'm hoping step up, because if you think that if each of our receivers step up, if Austin steps up and then Wilson steps up, those voids have been filled.
We suddenly got an improvement in lighting.
Exactly.
All right, look, listen.
Well, we got
one aspect. I will agree with those.
Dublin.
I will agree with most of those points. What I don't agree with necessarily is your assumption that a lot of number two wide
That's what I'm
receivers
saying. Number
will
two.
be cut in camp. There will be a lot of receivers that may get cut in camp,
like
but
Tyler
it won't.
Boyd,
But it
you're-
won't be
okay.
number twos.
We need a number two.
It will not be a
Number
bunch of number twos getting cut. Let's state that fact
No,
out
but it'll be number ones that are salary cap victims. That's
no,
a number
there
two.
won't be number ones that are salary cap victims.
Yeah.
You
There's-
might see Ayuk on the
You never
market.
heard that.
You're not going to
You're
see.
You might
any-
see Ayuk cut.
You're not going to see
No.
Just
You're
to
not
give you
going to
an
see
example.
any ones or twos
Right.
getting cut
Okay.
once we get out of. You may see some 3s and 4s, but you're not going to see 1s and 2s.
Okay.
Let's be realistic.
So
about
you're
that.
going to say teams
Why would
aren't-
you?
I don't know. You
Why
might
would
be like
why
a
would
Pickens.
any team that's getting ready to?
Wait, last example
that
was, I
doesn't make-
believe, Pickens.
But that's the real.
I rest my case.
That's the real-
Hold on.
Your Honor, no more victims.
We're talking about.
or
We're
whatever.
talking once again about timing. You
Timing
already
is
saw
everything.
Pickens cut been happen.
There's always
not
a
going to
surprise
see
cut.
Ones
At the
and
end, there's-
twos
There's
cut after training camp.
there's
not gonna
always
see
a
cut.
No, there's not.
surprise
No,
cut
see,
on
There's
cut
not.
down
That's
day.
not fact.
Where the
Name
argument
the,
is
name the
coming in.
last. Hold on. Name the last 1 or 2 that got cut after training camp.
I don't know.
OBJ.
OBJ
He never got
was
cut.
first of all wasn't a 1
No,
or
no,
2.
no, 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 no,
when
no.
he
He
got
didn't get.
cut.
Okay, no,
He didn't get cut.
I'm mistaken. He didn't get cut.
Never got
Yeah.
cut.
He didn't sign. It was a
There it
different
is.
situation.
Right.
All right.
Completely different. Yeah, I'm just saying that by the time you break training camp,
We can agree.
you want your roster to be set.
There's
So
gonna be a
the
lot of
last
quality
thing you're
players.
going to
You're not
do-
going to have, and this is what
We
I'm
agree
saying.
that there's
You're
going
not
to be
going to
players.
have.
It just
a
won't be
pick.
1s
You're
and
not
2s.
going to
It
have
may
a
be
Pickens,
R2.
and I agree with Vin on this 100%. I agree with you. We're not going to have a Pickens and Metcalf combination. It's not going to be that great, but the combinations of the receivers as a unit, with someone who is going to disperse the ball and just give out the ball,
Which
Tony-
Rodgers can do.
which Rodgers can do, but Mason can do it and
Right.
win it's winning the locker room. It's your team wanting to play for you. These are the things I've seen down the stretch that you guys are not looking at.
We are looking at
I
that.
was-
We're just not
I
assuming.
don't see.
We're
the
just
si-
not
I just-
assuming
Okay.
that the locker room won't
Well,
be
look,
fine with Aaron Rodgers.
Hopefully,
You are.
Hopefully,
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
pleasantly surprised.
Exactly.
And the little signs that I've seen over the last 3 years with Aaron Rodgers is not true. I don't believe my own lying eye.
What
He's
locker
a great,
room
he's a great
has he
leader.
not, has he not
He's
been
a
able
great
to win
leader,
over?
man. He doesn't
What locker room
stand up.
hasn't he been able to win over?
Okay, his. The Jets.
Which one?
He went over the
That.
Jets.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
He still has players who say they're mad because he's
Everybody
not
has players. The worst leaders in NFL history has players that will vouch
What
for him.
indication do you have that he didn't
None.
win
My
over the
own
Jets
lying
locker room?
eyes. I watched him throw a receiver under the bus on national television. Whether it was his
Unfair.
fault or not, it doesn't matter.
One
It's
time.
one bad apple spoiled a whole bunch of girls. Donnie Osmond, I go way back. Anyway, what part of history did you miss? I watched it all.
That's
We're
not-
going
I don't know what kind of
to
history
have
that
to agree
is.
to disagree in this category again because we just don't agree, but that's fine. All right. As we move forward, we're going to take one more look at one final quick issue, or actually the same issue. Is there any other candidates or wide receivers that you guys can think of off the top of your head right now that are in a good situation or they're in position team-wise that we can see the Steelers trading for heading into OTAs and minicamp? We got Chris Olave's name mentioned. We've had Alan Lazard mentioned. Of course, we all know that Amari Cooper is out there.
Amari Cooper.
Yeah, Maury Cooper. That's what I was going to say. Maury Cooper.
Right. Okay, so
He's
Amari
a little
Cooper.
older though.
A little
But that's
older,
what
but
you-
I wouldn't
But
be
he can
mad
be
at
a
him
number
at
two.
number two. I wouldn't be mad.
He
at
can
him
be a
for
number
a
two.
year.
You
He
think
can
he's
run
better than
routes.
Mike? You think he's better than Mike Williams?
Yes.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
I
Yeah.
just asked a question.
a little bit. A little bit.
But
You
see,
know,
and,
at
and
least
this
a
is
little
the point that I'm making. When you go get a receiver, it might not be a receiver on the caliber of a Pickens, But if you get a
It's
veteran
not going to
receiver
be.
like
Unless we get in the lobby.
yeah, like in the exactly. But you
Right.
don't necessarily need that. You might need what's the guy that you said that was open, Amari Cooper. You might need a Tyler Boyd. You might need a
I would take a Tyler Boyd.
That's what I mean.
would take Tyler Boyd too. I don't know that that's necessarily viable, but
because the players that you have that you want to see if they're the superstars that you think they are Calvin Austin III and Roman Wilson.
yeah, we don't agree
Give
that
them a
it'll be
shot.
good. We
Right,
don't
yeah,
agree,
right.
and we don't disagree that we want to see the development of the other younger receivers on this roster. We just
So
would
whoever you
certainly
get has to be a team guy.
Yeah, that's cool. We just would
Okay.
like to see
An experience number 2.
an experience number 2
I
that
agree.
would fill the void that has been left by the departure of George Pickens. Because I, for one,
Which void?
I, for one, well, on
I
the
say
field,
the leadership void. Which void?
Listen, I'm saying on the field production.
Okay, all right.
We need to see of course, we want somebody.
Yeah, don't avoid the void.
Tony, we've never.
Okay,
we,
I'm just saying.
No one has ever said that we want to have a bad locker room presence. You don't have to sell us on having a good locker room
Donnie
presence.
taught us that.
But what we do need to have is the production that we miss
I get it.
by not having
I get
him on the field. If we get, hey man, again, I'm all in for saying if it's not just a rumor and if there's any legs to this Chris Olave thing, I think that if we did acquire him, it would instantly take our wide receiver room to being one of the better wide receiver rooms in the league, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's exciting if we can get that kind of addition. Are there any other names besides Olave that would make you that excited?
Tyreek Hill.
Oh, well, that's a no-brainer.
I'll accept Tyler Boyd.
I don't know that Tyreek Hill's that
Juju
realistic.
Smith-Schuster.
I thought
Just because of Miami
Juju.
letting go of him and what we'd have to give up to get him.
What about Juju?
Juju
No,
Smith-Schuster
No, I couldn't. No, that's over.
as the number 2.
That
No
train is
Juju?
gone. Yeah, that train is over.
Well, what was his
I watched some
production
of
in
his
Kansas
games
City
last
last
year.
year?
I watched his games last year.
Oh, you mean him as a player?
And he dropped some balls that should have been caught. You know, look at the Super Bowl.
I got to shake, fellas.
Okay. All right. Well, we was going to wrap it
You
up.
wrap it up.
Might as well wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
So we really don't have a long list on that yet. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks. But I, for one, would like to see some sort of a significant addition to the team in replacement of George Pickens' production. All right, folks. Well, listen, that was another opportunity for us to get together and present the ideas, the thoughts, the different perspectives of we the panel, right? Because we are the panel, and we hope that you enjoy our varying degrees or years. Although we have a similar body of experience being Steeler enthusiasts, but certainly our different perspectives that we offer on the team. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap this up. We thank you so much for checking us out. Please look for your notifications. Make sure your buttons are clicked. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so that we can continue bringing you the thoughts of the panel on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am Big King Sadiq once again for Steeltown Tony Brown, Tony V, and Goat the Visionary as we make up the panel. Please join us again next episode. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect for the Steelers Game Prep channel. This has been the panel, and we